Streamer orgs were promised to be the future of LoL esports. They were here to take over and be the mainstay of the game, of the esport, of competition going forward. And, well, let's check in and see how that's going. LEC champions, and NLR champions, and probably the most talked about org in North America right now. Kinda wild. And they're only playing in Tier 3, not even Tier 2 or Tier 1. Granted, it's double lifted a legacy figure, a little bit different, but still. Yesterday, K-Corp posted a video on their Twitter of Caedrel responding, I don't know how many years ago now, to a question from a translator and responding in the comments as well, of like, what do you want? Like, what is your dream in life? And his answer was, I want to build a club that can compete internationally. Everybody and their mother called him crazy for two different factors. One, for saying that he could just build that up out of thin air whenever orgs like G2, Fnatic, like long-standing legacy brands have been around for a long period of time. You're going against the establishment, especially this was prior to any of these orgs like K-Corp or Nkoi or Los Ratones coming in. So yes, it was kind of like this crazy idea that nobody had ever heard of. And second is like, okay, compete internationally, come on now, like let's not lie to ourselves. It's almost as bad as like Mr. Beast coming in and being like, yeah, I want to win worlds from an LCS team, and it's like, I don't know about that. But the first step to getting there, the first step to achieving your dreams and to overcoming adversity is just to get your foot in the water in the first place, or your foot in the door. And with K-Corp winning the LEC, they now go to play internationally for the first time. The chance for Caedrel to live out his dream. Now, whether they do that or not at this tournament is kind of irrelevant. It's the pursuit that makes it fun. It's the journey before the end of the road that is more important than the ultimate goal of finally doing this whenever that may happen, if that might ever happen. But before we get into some of the lessons that should be learned from all this, I do want to talk about like my dream on this. It's the reason why I wanted to make this video, because 2 nights ago on Sunday night, I'm the type of person that I don't like sitting at home and doing nothing. I've never had like a wide group of friends to be able to go out every weekend like you do in college. I was an RA during that time, so I never really made like the most amount of friends in that perspective. Plus I was a gamer. We kind of hermited ourselves inside a little bit more, and I didn't really come out of my shell until I came to New York. But one thing that is terrible for my mental health is just staying in. And Saturday night, my wife and I had a conversation because I was just feeling down. And she's like, why are you upset? Like, what's going on? What's wrong? And I couldn't quite figure it out until we just started talking about content. And like, things are doing incredibly well for my channel, but I don't feel like I'm making progress towards the things that I want to do. And it's like, well, what do you want to do? And that's like, it sounds overly ambitious, but I do want to run an esports org, but not just like an online thing. I want to run New York City's League of Legends team. New York City's like in-person events. I want, quite simply put, like this is like the tangible goal that I want to do. I want to sell out Madison Square Garden for our team. Not for Worlds, that's a given. That's already like been done before. It's quite frankly not hard to do. They could announce Worlds is going to be at MSG tomorrow and it would sell out like that. No, I mean just for something similar to what K-Corp X is doing. Grow New York City scene, grow personalities, grow the space here, have, you know, the whole 9 yards of it. Sidewalk talk outside, everybody going nuts, Spider-Man somewhere involved. Like that shit would be unbelievable. I want it to feel like the Knicks and the Yankees, but not in the bad way, because I know those are probably, like saying that up front probably sounds terrible to a lot of people. But I don't just, like, to me, winning worlds and like the international part of things like doesn't mean as much, even though that has to be part of it, as just simply getting people to believe in a cause and believe in a city and believe in an area and believe in like a joint venture, whatever brand, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Believe in that going forward. I don't know how to get there. I don't know how to do it. Content kind of feels like the way that I can talk myself into it. But I've always been inspired by Caedrel, by Abai, by all these massive names that are going out and doing everything that I would love to see happen here. And it's just weird that we don't have any of these things existing here in North America. Over the weekend, I got called out that Caedrel and the NLC and Los Ratones, they had a higher peak viewership, I think almost double to what North America had for our finals just for their event. And it was like a small area. It wasn't even in a massive stadium. It wasn't in any of these things that like I value with traditional sports, with esports. And a lot of people focused on the negative side of that, which is, oh, tearing North America down. But it's like, okay, let's find out why Caedrel is so successful in doing this. Rather than tear somebody down, let's build them up. What is working so well for Los Ratones? Why is this such a successful project? Compared to the likes of North America, compared to the likes of even the LEC, even though they have great viewership, like why is this team like so much more popular than everybody else? And the answer is always has been content. Look at their YouTube channel. They have a video out almost every single day of them doing the thing that they're going to be doing on stage, which is playing professionally. There's occasionally some vlogs and some behind the scenes stuff, but there's always content coming out on a daily basis for this org. We might not consider Doublelift's team independently the same success story, but look at what Doublelift does on his channel for his team as well, which is Near Airport, in case you need the memo. I think they play Doc Respawn's team this upcoming weekend. But like, there's a YouTube video every single day. Thumbnails look great. They're on top of things. They are streaming scrims. They're just being out in the public eye. Turns out, if you want to be a superstar, you have to be out and about. We're not talking like you're calling the tabloids, calling TMZ to let them know like where you're going or what you're doing for the night. Obviously not that far, but you just need to be present and to be able to build a community and have people just, quite frankly, know what you're doing at all times, because that's what people value nowadays. We value the parasocial relationship of knowing what's going on with our favorite entertainers, influencers, and everything else, like all the time. We want to know everywhere, every time, all at once, what people are doing. It lets us buy into their journey, because years ago we get like a weekly episode, but like we're not in 2012 anymore. The reality is you can get daily updates from live streaming as more people are live each and every day. Does that make being a pro competitor harder? Yeah, absolutely, it does. You open yourself up to more scrutiny. You open yourself up to more people making fun of you. As notably XU talked about this past weekend, that yeah, a lot of the reasons why people are not vocal on social media is because of the backlash, to which I would say part of the backlash is because you don't talk to people. People make assumptions and fill in gaps and just assume things because you aren't out in the public speaking things. That's not on XU. I'm talking about the people that he's like referencing that stay off social media. Now, could people be nicer online? Sure, but they're not gonna be. The internet's the internet, and I know it's toxic, and I know it's bad. Trust me, I live on it more so than any pro player does at the moment. But you just gotta take all of that and try and channel it into something good. Give people a cause to believe in, a reason to believe in, and as is shown by the streamer orgs, that can and will work. I'm genuinely curious to see what the future of Los Ratones specifically looks like, because they are following the early footsteps that K-Corp kind of laid out for everybody. Like if we're putting all these on a timeline, like K-Corp is pretty much like at the finish line. Like they are at the international stage of things. They are finally starting to compete and contend there. They did it through regional fan development, and that has worked incredibly well. Something that simply will not happen here in North America. What could happen here in North America is something similar to Caedrel's, which is kind of like in the middle ground, where like he is in the tier 2 system. He's now going to EMEA Masters. They now have their merch set up. It feels like everything is slowly, at a good pace, growing for Caedrel and Los Ratones, to the point where, yes, in a few years, depending on how things go with the LEC and the value of these franchise spots and whether Riot deems that money is still necessary to buy into these, or whether Riot would be willing to give out slots or even maybe give one to promotion relegation, because Europe is way, way, way more familiar with that system, which I think would be a great idea for Rogue Spot. Take it back, give it to the winner of EMEA Masters, they get in the league for a year, and then you have to keep competing over and over and over again. Caedrel's kind of like right in the middle of that process, working towards K-Corp, but notably without the regional tie, just all online. So then you have Doublelift, who's very much at the beginning of this. The difference with Doublelift is that he's competing himself, which is kind of a weird one because we don't know how it will end up working if he decides to simply not compete. Like if he kind of is the brand. He's not building a brand outside of himself just yet. And it feels like with a lot of American creators, there is that worry about being self-centered around your brand and like creating everything around you. Would he be able to pass the torch and still run things? I don't know. I'm not as faithful in like the whole Doublelift experiment, but at the end of the day, it is showing people that yes, having eyeballs on you, doing the stream scrims, doing all the things that you need to do on that front is a good thing and clearly gets people to pay attention. I mean, his latest video, like he played in an open qualifier against silver players. And that right there is an amazing YouTube video that people are going to want to watch no matter what. So if Doublelift is not going to be likely the next Caedrel for North America, at least my assumption is that he probably won't be. What do others need to learn? What does Doc Respawn, for example, need to learn as he's going through this process? Well, one, you got to up your content consistently. You got to have so much content out there that is easy to find, and then also people can discover it on other channels, whether it's tweeting out about it, whether it's on TikTok, Instagram. Like, by all means, you got to like convince people that they want to follow your story, whether as your brand story, your individual player story, your creator story, whatever it might be. You got to convince people that they want to follow it, that it is a cause that they can tie themselves into long term. Trust me, as a 100 Thieves fan, that's the biggest thing I'm struggling to get people to buy into the brand on that front, and I'm not even part of the brand, which is tragic. The second is that it's always just better to be talked about than never talked about at all. K-Corp proves the case that yes, there are a lot of people that honestly hate the brand, hate the fans, hate everything about it because they just find them to be annoying on the echo chamber that is specifically Twitter, because sports fans can be overbearing when there's a lot of them versus none of other teams. But you got to channel that. Any excuse that you can get for people to say your name, you should be doing. For Doc Respawn, if you could try and like feed your name into Hotline League conversations and then clip that stuff and put it out there like I do every single time that I'm ever mentioned on that show, that goes a long way, a really, really long way. And finally, you just got to let your passion show through. It's something that I don't feel like is communicated well, especially here in North America, where it's like, are we genuine? Like, do we care about the thing that we're doing? We've seen venture capitalists come in, we've seen people start teams, and then they just kind of like fade away. Like, they care at first, but like that sustained, long-term, continuous, like uploading consistently, be it like never dropping the ball on a standard that you have individually set. Like, once that fades away, people stop caring. And I don't think anybody in this region at the moment has kind of put that level of effort and care into things. Obviously, some of the brands and orgs have, but even then, I feel like that's scaled down compared to most content creators and what they can put out and the passion that they can show by just being more upfront and honest with things. I guess just be transparent would be the way I would say it. And not just transparent of like, oh, if you want it, we can tell you. It's like, no, like be in people's faces and like tell them what you think that they want to hear. Like it sounds counterintuitive, but sometimes people actually genuinely don't know what they want until they're told about it. If you have an idea for what you think people want and what you think drives good content, do it. Anyways, I know this video is a bit rambly, but I just over the weekend saw the massive success of content creators and their orgs and just wanted to talk about it because damn, is it something that I honestly got inspired to hopefully do at some point in time. I shoot myself in the foot a lot by the fact that I do tie myself to teams like 100 Thieves and have loyalty to an org that maybe just doesn't care about me in the way that you would want them to. Maybe I'm just too small and like I'm not worth the investment as an individual at the moment. But I have my dreams, I know what I'm shooting for, and I'm not going to stop taking inspiration from others and seeing the success of what Caedrel, Kometo, Abai, Doublelift, and others are doing in their own individual silos and just being like, yeah, I want to one day do that too, even if my schedule doesn't allow. Because by all means, Doc Respawn, I think I've said this before, but Doc Respawn reached out to me to be a part of his org and to help them up through tier 3. And it's like, while I appreciate it, I appreciate you reaching out, unfortunately, like my tie is to 100 Thieves. Like it'd be disloyal to like who I am to do anything other than wait for my shot to get on the org that I invest so much time into. And if it folds, if 100 Thieves like does close down after this year, then I'm free to make choices as I want to and like really kind of push like who is willing to help me grow New York City scene, because I have a mission that I believe in. There's something that I genuinely believe is here that we can do about it, and I'm not going to give up on that. I had somebody at the bar last weekend offered like just hand me a $20 bill and be like, you know, nobody pays you for what you do. I just wanted to say thank you. And I was like, dude, I don't need $20. I appreciate it, thank you, but like if anybody should be paying me in this situation, it should be like an org that should have me as like an event coordinator thing, something like that. Like that should be like the route in which I get paid. You want to buy me a drink after 100 Thieves wins a game? Great, do so. And he said, deal, fine. Unfortunately, I never got that drink. But that moment made me step back and realize that, yeah, I'm pushing for things pretty hard here. Maybe one day it'll work out. Maybe one day it won't. Maybe $20 and the offer to buy a drink is the most I'll ever get from any of this, other than like what I've kind of grown here. I'm saying in terms of like the physical in-person growth from all this. But man, I can still I can hear the rumblings and just feel Madison Square Garden shaking as the team is ready to come out and people are just excited. One day, man, one day.